I say let's go and get started, man. I'll go ahead and welcome everyone back to the podcast. Today we have so Maurice Hernandez, who is known as Mo. We've been calling you Mo for ever since I met you, man. I think that was like the nickname or just the abbreviation. We'll get a little bit into that actually, because I've been wanting to ask you how it is that came about. But I'll start by stating how Mo and I actually met, I want to say about 5 years ago, and it was through the dancing community at Sac State, um, through the Salsa Loca Club. And I feel like several people that I'm going to be having on here are going to have a similar kind of background in terms of how we met, because Salsa Loca was such a huge thing back in those years. I mean, still kind of is. I just have to state that Mo is a great dancer. When I started coming around, I remember always watching him, observing what he was doing, because I was like, man, all right, this is an opportunity to learn here myself. But during his time at Sac State, Mo actually got his degree in kinesiology with an emphasis in exercise science, if I'm correct. And I really wanted to have him on the podcast because Mo is someone who is currently applying what he studied in college uh, to his career. And currently, he is a performance coach at a local gym here in Sacramento. And I want to jump right into it with you, Mo. We're going to have to build up to the point to where you're at now, coaching people, but and specifically for their fitness journeys. But I really want to know, and my question is, where did your fitness journey begin?
My fitness journey began, man, I can remember back as a kid, dude, like 5 years old, um, just playing hoops in the house or in the backyard,
Okay.
kind of just wanting to be Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
being my favorite athletes on the television. Um, and fitness was just always something that was always important to me as a kid. Like I strive to be the best in that aspect of my life. So I
Mhm.
had tons of like awards, physical fitness awards from school. And um, as I went through school, I wanted to be a good athlete, specifically in basketball. Um, Fast forward to high school, still wanted to be great at that and, just give my all in whatever I did, whether it was basketball, football, track and field, whatever I put my mind to. And obviously, like, fate doesn't, or, God has a plan for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professional sports wasn't in that realm. So,
Mhm.
um, fitness was my way of staying close to the things that I love.
Mhm.
Um, so I, continue to train people, just for fun. I have a lot of friends that are professional athletes and I train them, I train friends, I train my girlfriend. And yeah, that's just kind of where my fitness journey has taken me and where it
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. So you were 5 years old. Are you started young, young? And was that a thing that your family kind of pushed on you? Was it something that your parents were they big about like exercising and stuff, or was it something that just naturally you gravitated towards, like being active, being in sports in school like that?
Actually, it wasn't my parents, it was my older brothers. I have two older brothers
Okay.
and they were always active. And me being the youngest, I always wanted to tag along with whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, and what's really funny is how you talked about dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that was my first form of movement as a kid.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to be a breakdancer first
Okay.
because my eldest brother, he was he was in high school at the time, and back in the early '90s, breakdancing was like huge,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be them, and then it progressed to like my seeing my other brother, my middle brother playing basketball and seeing him and just kind of replicating what they're doing.
Mhm.
And, I owe it all to them for, just me being active as a kid and, letting me have fun.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I ask you that because people started in different ways into, what I was calling the fitness journey. And a lot of times it comes from an influence, either, if your parents are big about it or someone in your family. In this case, it was your siblings. And it's always really interesting to see if you can pinpoint like what was that kind of push you towards that. But okay, so you start at a young age, you're doing sports throughout high school, well, pretty much K through 12. You said basketball was like a huge focus of yours. When you're going into college, do you already have an idea that you want to get into something related to, kind of exercising or just like, you know, sports? What was your idea going into college?
I was not looking into this field at all, to
Okay.
be honest.
All right.
I'm gonna just go to like my cultural background, as a first generation, Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Even like I think you can understand this too as like um, from a Mexican background, right?
Yeah.
Like your parents, well, especially like Asian parents, they want you to be
Yeah.
the doctor, right? The dentist,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, work in a federal, kind of environment.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I strive to be. I wanted to be in the medical field to
Okay.
start.
Yeah. Is, is
So
it also for, because I know for Filipino girls, for the females, they push a lot of like the medical field, nursing, like nurses is like it's actually a thing, like Filipino
mhm.
nurses. What's the equivalent for guys? Is it
The
just
same, going into the nursing field.
okay?
I definitely like when I was younger, had dreams of being a pediatrician because I love kids.
Okay.
So I always talked about that. But um, yeah, man, it's definitely competitive, and I wasn't the greatest student, so that kind of was a limiting factor for me
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting into other programs.
So you started a
Um,
program in the medical field when you went to college,
So I was
or
doing my
like
GE
you were
or
taking?
like finishing, my GE
Mhm.
at Sac State, and I wanted to get into health science
Okay.
and use that health science degree to kind of get into, the medical field.
Yeah.
Um, and it was honestly a blessing that I didn't get in, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, because it led me to, my passion, which is kinesiology, and I had no idea about kinesiology or exercise science until I was in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I continued to like study it, I was like, damn, this is right up my alley. Like, I love this, and even though it was hard to get through, I stuck with it because I know like in my heart and just like in my head, like this is the stuff I need to be learning to further my career and what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in health science or you're taking classes for that. Do you take a class that exposes you to kinesiology, or how did that come about? You talk to somebody, you discovered there was like an exercise field or specific career with that?
I think the closest like kines class that I took was like nutrition.
Okay.
Um, And I can't even honestly remember how I stumbled upon kinesiology, but I do know that a lot of my prereqs
Mm-hmm.
were the same ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of just chose it because I was already almost done with the prereqs for that
Mm,
major,
yeah, yeah.
and it ended up being a blessing because this is what I love to do, man. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, that's dope. Like you said, things always they happen for a reason, and at the end of the day, they end up working out the way they're supposed to. But
Mhm.
how was your experience as a kinesiology student? Because while I was a student, and even now that I still work at the university, that's a very it's one of those majors that people talk about how difficult it is, or there it could be very difficult. So how was your experience with that? Just going through the courses and the program in general.
To start, it was difficult, man. Like,
Yeah.
of course, like impaction, like is huge. um Not getting into the classes at least right away, or like having to go through waitlisting and stuff like that. But in terms of the content, the beginning is very hard. It's a lot of concepts, not with like sports in general, but just like the human body. So I think the hardest courses for me were human physiology. Like that's a nursing course, you know what I mean? And I struggled through that, but um, I'm a creature of habit, and with repetition and just kind of viewing the material over and over again, like I kind of got better at it.
Mm-hmm.
After that course, all the material was very interesting. Just kind of learning, how the body reacts to exercise, um, with the same concepts of, physiology, um, taking biomechanics courses, um, cardiovascular courses. I can't really remember the names, but
Mm-hmm.
um, the instructors and all the people that I studied with were like-minded as me. They love fitness. They wanted to go somewhere with that,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was a good experience.
Interesting. So would you say that you are currently applying what you learned in their classes and in college to what you're doing now?
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Um, not like 100% everything,
Yeah.
right? But like a lot of the things in terms of all the exercise courses that I took, all my movement based classes,
Mm-hmm.
I still use some of those techniques and practices today.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the main ones was fundamentals of weightlifting,
Okay.
with a professor named Theorides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, he had a big impact on how I coach people up today, in terms of lifting weights and progression, and um, yeah, just using some of his same methods that he taught us in class. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So would you recommend for someone, let's say they want to get into the field, they want to get to those like coaching positions. Uh, would you recommend someone going to college to ultimately get to that or eventually get to that?
Yeah, 100%. If you want to be in the strength and conditioning field,
Hmm.
um, it's important to have it's not necessary, right? You can get a degree in psychology and still be a strength coach.
Okay, yeah.
You just have to have the necessary, like, obviously certifications after that,
Hmm.
and then just like a willingness to learn, from other coaches.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that graduated with a degree. It was nowhere near kinesiology,
Okay.
and he got his certification, the right certifications. He did a couple internships, and now he's a strength coach at Sacramento State.
Oh, wow.
You
He's
know,
a sex eight.
so he yeah. So, but it is a good background to have a degree, a
Hmm.
bachelor's degree in kinesiology,
Yeah.
and even just moving forward into the future, right? Like a master's degree is definitely a master's degree in exercise science kinesiology is definitely like an advantage,
Does that
'cause
like boost you in the field and in terms?
100%.
Yeah. Like in
Mm.
what ways? What would be like an example of something that helps you with like getting a master's or going for higher education in your field specifically?
Just in terms of the population if like that you want to work with, like as you move into like the professional sports realm,
Mhm.
right? Like the higher degrees and the more experience you have is going to get you that position.
Okay.
Um, I have aspirations to coach in the NBA, right? Be a strength coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
And all the coaches, either have a master's degree in kinesiology or they have some sort of, you know, doctorate degree in movement sciences. So definitely, important.
That's huge. That's actually what I was going to ask. People that are working with professional athletes, to get to that point or to even be able to apply to positions like that, because these people went through an application process to work there. Most
Mm-hmm.
of them have degrees and something related to what they're doing. It's not like
Yeah,
something kind of build up, got a certification. Like you actually need the that to back you up as well.
right. And it's not only kinesiology, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
physical therapists are even rolling into the field, which is great. Even athletic trainers can
yeah.
be, seen as strength coaches or, can coach in our field too.
Mhm.
And I think it's amazing, man. Like you can learn from anybody, bro. And the more we collaborate and work together, like the better our athletes and they're gonna be, and the more healthy they are gonna be. So like, I love that.
Yeah. No, that's really important to know too, because I think a lot of people have that misconception that, because I've talked to, people before who have that goal to eventually work with professional athletes and that, but they're like, oh, well, you could just work your way up, through the gym kind of thing, or just doing coaching on the side, but never think that you actually need certain types of certifications, and even go to college and not just get a bachelor's, but even higher than that. So I
Mhm.
think it's important that you point that out. Because again, have in mind that somebody that is thinking about this might listen to this conversation, and now it's like, oh shit, okay, I actually need to do that. Um,
Yeah, I think the best thing too is, whatever field you're trying to get into, whether it's strength conditioning at the professional level, nursing, acting, right? Look
mhm,
at the people at the top of the field and what they have and what they've done, you know. That'll give you a roadmap of, you know, where you should try to go, because there are people that done it before you, and your path may not be the same as theirs,
mhm,
but it'll give you a guideline of maybe I should get this certification or maybe I should get this degree to kind of jumpstart, the path.
yeah. And that's a good thing that you point out right there. And I think that applies literally to any field or anything you want to do, is to have in mind that there's people that have already done it. So you trying to do it by yourself and locking yourself to the idea that you could learn from someone else that's already done it because of ego or whatever it is. It's like, no, we'll just use the blueprint that's already been laid out by other people to kind of speed up your learning process, or even your progress in general.
Yeah.
Again, that applies literally to like anything, any field, really.
Yeah, and if you're really courageous, like you will hit them up yourself,
Yeah,
through email or Instagram, right? Don't be afraid to reach out.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
is that? Would you say that's something that you're practicing now? Is like reaching out to people like that? Let's say there's someone that you're like, oh, I've been a fan of this person, or the work that they do in general, or something like that.
It depends, you know what I mean? Like I kind of will wait for the perfect moment to like say something, you
Okay.
know. For the most part, I'll just kind of watch from afar and just admire them and what they do, and hopefully they drop gems through a podcast or a post on Instagram, and I'll just pick it up,
Yeah.
and just kind of use it safely. If you could just kind of put that into context, like right, like, um, but yeah, 100%. Like, I've been courageous enough to hit up coaches on Instagram and just kind of ask them about opportunities and
Mm,
things like that. And some people will ignore you, some people will hit you back, and for the most part, like 98% of people will hit you back with a great answer, and will help you get to where you need to go.
yeah. You just gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, shoot your shot, baby.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And that could be a difficult thing for a lot of people, just really, because that's, I feel like humans, we try to we tend to gravitate towards like the worst case scenario. So it's like, well, if I reach out to this person, they're not gonna, hit me back up. So let me not even try.
And
Um,
that's the worst that can happen. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah.
no, that's crazy, dude. So right now that, how long have you of a, how much time do you have of experience now of actually working at the as a strength coach right now?
As a strength coach, I started right after the pandemic hit.
Okay.
So officially, like, I quit my job in 2020 of January.
Mhm.
So right when the shutdown hit,
Wow.
I
Okay.
was fresh. I was freshly graduated in 2019 with a degree in kinesiology, and the best thing I did was leave my job and follow my passion.
Hmm. Mm.
So I'd say about 3 years now.
About 3 years. Nice.
Mhm.
I love that though. I love that story. What would you say is one of the things that you most enjoy from being a fitness coach?
Ooh, what do I most enjoy?
Yeah.
Man, I'd say the thing that I most enjoy is just being active every day. Like I don't have to sit down and babysit nobody, or I don't have to sit down behind a computer and you know, um, do a lot of paperwork. I
Yeah,
mean, there is a little bit of paperwork, in my career, but for the most part, I am
you're moving.
teaching.
Yeah,
Yeah, movement. I'm teaching movement. I'm teaching people, or I'm using different methods to kind of create an adaptation to, get them a little bit healthier, whether it be cardiovascularly, um, strength wise, I'm teaching movement. So I think that's the best thing.
yeah. I no, honestly, I think that's pretty dope, to be honest. It's like getting paid to do something that you love, which in this case is exercising. That's, shit, I need to sign up myself because I'm like, yeah, I'm going 2, 3 hours a day and I ain't getting paid for it. But no, that's awesome. I think that's a huge thing. Back to what you're saying is, like enjoying what you're doing, which in this case is exercising, which is a huge thing. And so along with what's one of your favorite things, what would you say is one of the more, or what's a challenging thing that comes with the work that you do? If there
Mm,
if there is anything that, or what comes to mind?
challenging. Um, I think the most challenging thing is kind of keeping people bought in
Mm,
to the process, right? And the journey of, what you're trying to accomplish, and keeping people, motivated to reach goals further than they even think they can even like accomplish, right? Like you reach one goal that's very small, but you got to keep freaking going,
mm,
like you can't stop at all. But I think that's the most difficult part is tapping into people's intrinsic motivation and their like what taps into their like drive, like what makes them go, you know. That's the hardest part about it. Because everybody's different.
yeah, yeah. Dang, and that you touched on a big point actually that I wanted to, well, something that I wanted to point out and ask you that you're working directly with people, on a consistent basis. And so one thing that I'm a big preacher about, exercising and staying active for all the different reasons. We can sit here and talk about all the different benefits that come from exercising and just being physically active. But one of the common things that I hear from different people and a lot of people of why they don't exercise or why they can't stay consistent with it is because of the motivation, So I'll be talking to someone and they'll be like, well, I just can't find the motivation to exercise. Or when they start exercising, they're like, I can't find the motivation to stay consistent with it. How do we address this, Mo? What do you that you work directly, in the field of coaching people for this? Like what do you think is the best approach for that? What kind of conversation do you have with someone who is either seeking to find that motivation to start exercising or to keep that motivation to stay consistent if they already started?
Mm-hmm. I'd ask him a question as simple as, uh, "Do you drink water every day?
Okay.
Like, do you eat breakfast every day?
Okay.
Right? Like that. It's something you should just do every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's only 30 to an hour,
Mm,
out of your day, and it's only gonna make you live longer. It's only gonna make you look better, which is gonna make you feel better, and just in terms of that motivation, you got to figure out your why.
mm-hmm.
Figure out why you want to do it. Give it some context.
Yeah.
Make do it for somebody or you know for something. So just putting a why behind it and holding them accountable to that why
Yeah.
will keep people in the gym.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And kind of,
Yeah.
kind of sticking on this for a minute because I think this is a huge one again. I've had this conversation with, so many times with people and just finding the best way to approach it again is it could be very different depending on the situation and the person. I'll go ahead and share mine though, talking about the why. And again, what I tell people is like trying to pinpoint something that is gonna keep you coming back, because finding the motivation is one thing, but then keeping the discipline to stay consistent is a very different thing, because you're not always going to be motivated. And you know this, there's days where it's like, fuck, I don't want to go work out today, or I want to exercise. Maybe for you
Yeah,
it's a little different because you're doing this for work too and you have an extra incentive. But I'm sure you have days where it's just like, shit, I'm tired, or like it's just your body is just not, you know
100%.
not feeling it. But going again back to the why, for me personally, when I was probably from like 8 to 10, 8 to 11 years old, I was really chubby. I was a
Mm.
really chubby kid, dude. Like I was a big kid. I'm gonna try to put in some photos in here, maybe, uh, so you can see what's up. But at a really young age, I also became really aware that I didn't want to be chubby. So I just it really got into my mind, into my head, that I needed to lose weight, and kind of just start on this fitness journey. And I was like, yeah, I was 10 going on 11 when I got into that mindset. And pretty much ever since, I've just kept an active lifestyle. Initially, it was because I would look at myself in the mirror and I didn't like the way I looked, dude. I remember being 9, 10 years old, looking myself in the mirror and being like, I'm literally in a way feeling disgusted with myself. I was really big and I was just like, I don't want to be this way. So I got obsessed with losing weight, which eventually, in my teenage years, it was like, well, now I want to build muscle. And then after that was kind of just maintain. So my why in a way has changed depending kind of like what's going on in my life. But at the core of it, it's that me remembering that young Oscar, that chubby young Oscar, and looking at myself and being like, oh, what the hell? Literally
Mm.
is, to this day, probably the biggest motivation that I've have, or biggest incentive for me to stay active. Again, aside from being healthy and feeling good and confidence, everything that comes with it. But at the core of it is that right there. Is like me looking at myself in the mirror at one point in my life and not liking the reflection that I was seeing. Um,
Yeah.
which I think that could be a huge one. And again, I share this because we all have different stories. There's different, reasons of why it is that we get started, or why it is that we think we're gonna get started. So I think it's really just digging deep and being like, okay, what's gonna keep me motivated over time? Because that
Yeah.
can change over time as well.
Yeah. One thing I want to share, is obviously, like, we follow each other on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and I really um, felt a story that you posted about, being grateful that we have our bodies to use. I
Yeah,
don't know if you remember that story post that you posted. It was something along that line of, we shouldn't take for granted, you know, our bodies.
yeah.
We should use them to their max potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I really really love that post that you shared.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, man. And yeah, and that went back again, why I stated that the why changes, or you could add to that why over time. And I share that one because I have really close people to me because of heart conditions, or they don't have a leg, or they have some type of disability. And I've had those conversations with them of like, damn, dude, like I wish I could do this, or I wish I would have taken advantage at the time when I was able to exercise or use my full body. And dude, that right now, and again, another reason of why every day I'm like, fuck, I need to be grateful, dude, that I'm able to go on these runs, that I'm able to go and exercise. Like physically, it's like I can do everything. So it's why waste that opportunity?
Yeah.
So again, that changes over time, and you depending on the person too. We're all gonna have personal stories and reasons as why. But I really wanted to ask you again because you work with different clients. You probably see all kinds of things with different people, and from your personal experience, I feel like you have even this extra wide lens of perspective when it comes to that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you think you've
Yeah.
had do you think you've had a client where you really had to be like, hey, kind of pick at them,
Mm.
get them extra
Uh,
motivation?
I think it's ongoing. Like and it goes with the seasons, or it goes with what's going on in their life. If they're having a hard time with work, or family. you know you just kind of gotta be a good people person for one, and tap into what's going on in their life, and kind of structure, trying to get that why out of them through that. But they're let's see. Let me find a good example. Um,
Like you ever have to give a pep talk to somebody?
um, I definitely have to give pep talks for sure. I'm trying to think of a good example of. I kind of want to talk about my client Bob.
Okay.
He's 78.
Hey, okay.
He's got a gang of disabilities.
Mm,
His main one is MS. And it long story short, it's called I can't even pronounce it. But look it up on Google. It's called MS for short.
okay.
Um, but anyways, it inhibits his ability to walk. His coordination is off. His balance, his ability to remember things. It affects all of that, you know. And I think the biggest motivation that I can give him is to, just get 1% better every day, you
Is it
know.
is it multiple sclerosis?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
Multiple sclerosis, right?
Dang. So
And
it just kind of limits him with a lot of different things.
yeah,
Potentially.
it limits him in almost everything that he does.
Yeah.
Mm. Um, but I have to motivate him and continue to remind him, that it's not going to be easy,
Mm.
right? And you might not see the results that you want to see, but if you continue to, put good effort in and just keep the mindset of, I need to get 1% better every day, you know, um, it'll just make life a little bit easier, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And with Bob, was it himself that came to the gym seeking out, kind of assistance with coaching and all that, or
It was his wife, honestly. His wife kind of was seeking something for him. He's obviously, had some health issues that require him to lose weight.
yeah.
Uh, so that kind of brought him to the gym. Um, but yeah, man, he's one of my toughest clients, but my most rewarding because he literally can't use his right leg, but he's the most consistent,
Yeah.
in terms of coming every day and wanting to be there and coming early and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's dope. Don't know that. That's a pretty cool story. And right now that you mentioned Bob, that's 78 years old. It kind of got me thinking of those runs that we have here in Sacramento. For example, that half marathon that we participated in earlier this,
Yeah.
which was crazy, bro. That was insane. That like half marathon.
I
Uh,
didn't know you were running that, and I see you like passing. I'm like, holy crap, it's
yeah,
Oscar.
I remember when I see it too. I was like, oh shit, that's dope. But dude, so November of last year, I went out to go see my cousin run a full marathon, the California Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're there, at the area that we're cheering people on, kind of waiting for him to pass by, I'm seeing literally hundreds. Well, there's like thousands of people in this marathon. The California Marathon is huge. Literally, it's called an International California Marathon. But just seeing literally the hundreds of elderly people running a full marathon, I want to say like 50% of the people that were there, dude, they were at least like 60 years old, 60,
Super inspiring, man.
70s. That was the first time in my life that I witnessed something in person, a marathon in person, and it hit me in a way that oh my God, dude, like it literally kind of brings goosebumps to my skin because I was just sitting there thinking, man, if those people are running, yeah, I saw this really, oh my God, this old lady, dude. She had to at least be like high 70s, 80s,
Mm,
and she was running the marathon. We were almost towards the finish, and she was pretty much finishing it up. And that shit was like, if these people can do it, what gives you an excuse, bro? At the time, it was last year, I was 23, 24. It was like, man, you need to
yeah.
get it together, So, and I think things like that are really impactful. Seeing older people, trying to just be active, trying to stay alive, keeping their bodies moving. Um,
Yeah.
for us that are younger, it really gives you that perspective of what gives me an excuse. If I'm healthy, well, at least if you have health behind you, it's really, like, what excuse do you have to
Right.
not do something or try to do something?
And try it. That's exactly the word I was gonna say. Like, try it, go for it. Like, why not?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome, dude. Well, Mo, um, I think I got a lot from that, from just your story of how it is that you've gone to where you're at right now. I think we can go a second episode about stuff and more specific, about fitness things and just exercising in general. There is one last thing, hold up, before we go into that, because we're gonna go into this last section of questions that I like to ask everyone that I have on. But before we transition to that one, and this was a personal question, well, that I personally want to know about. One thing that I've noticed that comes with, I want to say age, or just trying different things when it comes to exercises, is keeping your energy levels up.
Mm.
That's one thing that some days I'm like, damn, like I feel the difference, or just, again, depending on what's going on. What's something that you recommend when it comes to just keeping your energy levels up, aside from sleeping well? Because I know that's like the number one. Are there any type of like specific supplements or general supplements, something that you'd be like, I would recommend for everyone to take this? Or
Um, you kind of stole the answer, man.
was it sleep?
It's sleep,
Yeah.
good nutrition, drinking water. It's very simple, but people
Mhm.
just kind of think there's a magic supplement or pill,
Yeah.
that kind of helps you get more energy. But it's finding that time to get rest, and um for me, like, we're talking about the marathon and stuff like that, and I think working on your aerobic system
Mm.
will help you, be more resilient in terms of just like how long it takes you to get tired,
Yeah.
like, in terms of your workouts. But um yeah, man, in terms of just like kind of having more energy throughout your day, right? It's good nutrition and fuel,
Mhm.
drinking lots of water, and man, just getting to sleep at night, bro, like 6 to 8 hours. Like, that's literally the key, or the steroid to getting more energy, man.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, I stated that, like, aside from sleep, because I was just trying to see if you were, I don't know, gonna bring up some like sea moss or some crazy stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think that's a huge one, because I mean, for some of us, the sleep part, dude, and I think we sabotage ourselves, because there's nights where I'm like, I could get my sleep in right now, my 8, 7 hours, but I'm like, oh,
Mm,
find something else to do, or I feel like I'm not being productive. But then the next day I'm all tired. So yeah, going
yeah.
back to just having those healthy habits of, sleeping well, drinking water, eating good.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I was just trying to see if you had like a specific vitamin or something that you're like,
Yeah.
hey, this
I
some.
mean, to each his own, man. I heard a lot of good things about sea moss. I never tried it myself. I kind
Yeah.
of want to,
No, you might have to try it out.
right? Like, who got the plug on sea moss? I'm trying to see what it do.
Uh, yeah, I remember chia seeds at one point were like a huge thing. They were like hitting the
Yeah.
markets and the social media. Okay,
Mm,
cool. Well, Mo, let's get to the last section. So these are four
shit.
questions again that I ask everybody that I've had on the podcast and that I'm going to have on the podcast. Because I'm really interested in this.
No, let's go.
The first question is, if it is that you do tap into this type of content, what are 3 books and or podcasts that you personally listen to that you would recommend for people? And this could be at any point in your life. It could have been a book that you read back when you were 10 years old and you were like, damn, to the day it hits, or even currently in general, or
Okay.
yeah.
Um. Well, the current, like, book that I've been reading is from Joel Jameson.
Okay.
It's called Ultimate MMA Conditioning.
Mm,
It's about just energy systems and different methods to, be the best conditioned athlete you can be. And I think a lot of his methods can be applied to any sport, not just MMA.
yeah.
Uh, Podcasts. Ooh. Oh man. I'm gonna just say my favorite podcast is All the Smoke. I really love watching Matt Barnes and Stack, talk to all the legends,
All the
you know,
smoke.
all the smoke. Yeah.
I don't think I've listened to that.
Yeah, so they have like different athletes
Yeah,
from
yeah.
back in the day. And you just get a lot of gems from, how they grew up,
Mm,
and they just have different stories that I really love to hear.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
And in
nice.
terms of like another podcast that I really like, mm, man, so I just well, not this is not a podcast, but it's an audio book. I
Okay.
just started. It's called Shoe Dog.
Mm.
I forget who the author is, but it's about the origin story of Nike, and I just started it, and it's basically about so far what I've listened to is basically like his come up story
Hmm.
and how he took a chance, and yeah, how he took a chance on something and just kept following his dreams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's called Shoe Dog. I just started it.
Nice, nice. So is that where the what's it called? The slogan comes of just do it?
Probably.
Probably,
I
yeah.
haven't got too far into it, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited to listen to the rest of it. And I love a come up story and I love an underdog story
Mhm.
because I feel like I'm still an underdog and I'm still trying to make it.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, and those audibles are pretty dope. I just started listening using the Audible thing or those
Mhm.
audiobooks.
Yeah.
It's like listening to a podcast pretty much, but book.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so second question. Well, what is an advice that you would give your younger self? And for this, imagine a 17, 18-year-old Mo.
hmm Oof. The advice I'll give my younger self is yeah, don't waste your time, not doing what you love.
Hmm,
I wish I would have did this earlier, you
okay.
know. Um, yeah, that's the advice I'll give my younger self.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, third question. How do you define success in your own life?
Success. Mm, that's a tough one right there.
You give some thought to it. I personally like to ask that one because I think everyone's depiction of it or concept of it could be very different, also very similar. So it kind of
hmm
gives you some,
I
just
think my definition of success is for one, doing what you love to do every day,
mm,
um, finding your passion, um, and being able to share that passion with people. Um, and then in terms of just like success in life, like just kind of making sure that you do the necessary things to live the life that you want to live. Whether it be simple or extravagant, whatever you want out of life, like
mm,
go for it. And yeah, man, and success to me too is just like living righteously, being a good person. I view that as success, like being a good person to people, and um, yeah, that's kind of my definition of success.
yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that. It's pretty much living life on your own terms and
hmm
being a good human.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Do what you want to do. Whatever that is, do it.
There it is. Just do it.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
I love that. All right, hold on. And before I go to the fourth and final question, I did mention this in the beginning of how, when I met you, I met you as Mo. How did that come about? So Maurice, was it just like a nick people call you this as a kid? How did that happen?
It's not too crazy. My brothers just kind of called me Mo, and I just kind of rocked with it, man.
Okay. Hey, there it is. All right. So the last question for you, Mo. If you could travel to any place in the world right now, with all expenses paid, you could take Early with you too. Where would you go and why?
Oh man, where would I go and why? Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Mm,
This one's interesting.
this one is interesting. Um, Somewhere in the Middle East.
Middle East?
Like
Okay.
I think like Petra Jordan. Like I think me and my lady been talking about that one, and like that would be really cool to see. Like
Where
Petra
to?
Jordan.
Oh, in Jordan?
Petra, yep, Jordan. And
Okay.
then kind of like going through there, right? Like Egypt and like Morocco, like that vibe would be sick.
That's dope. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'm really curious about that one. I'm a big traveling fan myself, so I'm always curious to see where people, either want to go eventually or, excited to go because it's a big
Where's the
world
last
out
place
there.
you went to? Where's the
Huh?
last place you went to? What's the last place you went to?
Last place I went to was Peru, which
Ooh.
was that was in August of last year. That was a dream country of mine. That was literally my dream country since I was a little kid. So I finally got to experience it, and I cannot recommend it enough, man. It just brings back these memories. Beautiful place. Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful country, culture, people, the natural sites, everything is yeah, lovely. So yeah, that was the last trip I got to go to.
Nice, man. Nice.
But nice. Well, Mo, it was great having you, man. Ever since I started this the podcast, I was having you in mind because again, the work that you're doing, as we were mentioning earlier, is something that you really enjoy. You get to exercise for a living and help others get fit too. So I think that's pretty dope. And I think you share some things for people who maybe want to get into this field or want to get into kinesiology and branch off with something from there. So I think we're getting a lot from that conversation. I think I'll be adding the link to your gym and maybe even your Instagram if you'd like for me to do that, so people can go and check you out. Will not check you out like that. All right, Jarelli, go and check his workout.
Yeah,
Uh,
tap in, man. Tap in.
yeah, there you go. Well, it was great having you, man. And like I said, maybe we'll do another one in the future. Thanks everybody for tapping in, and we'll catch you on the next one.